Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our April 20th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Here.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of April 6th, special meeting of April 14th. Any additions or corrections?
I have a couple. Last time on the approval of the meeting, the minutes for the meeting, I had made some corrections. I guess that is mentioned here. The only other one that I had was, I don't think Mr. Gottstein was here for the special meeting.
Correct.
So with that correction, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the regular meeting last time and the special meeting of April 14th.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2015-07 in the amount of $492,696.60. George.
I only got a couple of them. Trish, first of all, that $1,259.30 for Spring Valley Farm. Object to that. And on page 8, just a question. Joe, halfway down the page at $23,000 for bucket testing. Is that electrical testing that you do on them, on the buckets?
No, in fact, that's a mistake, George. It shouldn't say truck. It should say grounding breakers. If you remember back, probably somewhere about 2 years ago, maybe not quite that long, we contracted with Energis High Voltage Resource to purchase 2 grounding breakers for the hydro. When we take a unit out of service, we put this breaker in and it grounds, electrically grounds everything.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Oh.
That's the cost of it. They finally came in, finally got fitted, and they're operational.
Oh, okay. I assumed it was for bucket testing here, and I was just questioning. I think we better look around for a little cheaper place to
No, that's
for
not for
testing
bucket
equipment.
testing.
That's all I have here, right?
Chris.
Actually, on that same page 8, just above it, the cap hoist repairs, was that a budgeted item that we had?
No, Chris, it was not a budget item. What happened during the reconstruction of the hydro, the rental of 2 8-ton units, it was cheaper for me to actually go out and purchase one than to rent them for the length of time we needed it. So I just purchased it instead. So now we have one now.
Joe, then why do they put repairs here?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the invoice to see why it's that way.
Probably because it was for the repairs of the hydro.
It might have said, I might have had on it for hydro repair,
Oh,
and that's why Lisa probably put it on there. I think I did right below it for hydro repair, and then I put 972,
okay.
021 on there. That's the number for it.
Then on page 6, under cable TV, towards the bottom, is that IP trunking for 8 city phone lines. I'm assuming that is the 8 phone lines that come in to feed City Hall.
That is correct.
Is there a reason the cable TV department's paying for that?
They get the revenue.
Okay. Then are they credited back then for that? Is the city, the general fund then pay
Yeah.
cable TV? Okay. That's all I had.
Dr. Hayes.
No questions.
Lee.
Back to page 8, out of curiosity more than anything. Halfway down, boom rotation repair, number 210. Only $700. What was the problem there, Joe? Just wear and tear, or?
That was a maintenance item on the boom.
Is that the big one?
Some hydraulic,
The biggest
yeah,
truck?
the big ones.
Okay. And then a kind of a curiosity question here. I see we paid out a little less than $8,400 in unemployment, and I know we have to pay that, but it just seems, if we don't have anybody laid off, shouldn't that rate go down? Or is that, are we bottomed out and it stays where we are?
Well, that's
I mean,
based,
we don't have anybody laid off that I know of.
no, but that's based off the rate that we have our unemployment through the league, is that correct?
Yeah. This, we only pay unemployment on every employee's, the first $9,500 they make per year. So this quarter is when you pay the max,
Oh, okay.
the first 2 quarters, and then by the 3rd and 4th quarter, it's just like your summer help that you're paying for. So this is the highest quarter.
Okay, but then technically, the only people that are ever laid off are the seasonal Gulf employees, right? Then they're only getting charged $104. That's, I guess, what I don't understand.
Well, because there's none of them out there right now.
It's
based on,
a percentage based off the income.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, and I have no other questions.
Jeremy, I got one. Joe, on page 7, on the bottom of the top column, surplus power sales, the WPPI, for $6,000. So I'm assuming that's what we sold them?
Yes.
Okay, then down here, right close on the bottom, about 4 or 5 lines up from the bottom, purchase power for $54,000. Why don't they just balance them?
They do credit our account, but we tell you what there is happening,
Oh.
so you know. Otherwise, you wouldn't know how much we sold and how much it cost.
Okay.
So we break it out, but on the bill, it's credited.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2015-07 in the amount of $492,696.60.
I'll support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes, but abstaining from the GoTech charges.
Mr. Ball?
Yes, put my motion on that Spring Valley, Trish.
And Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menedini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on the minutes manifest or agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes. If not, there'll be a time for comment on any subject at the end of the meeting.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a comment here or ask a question? You just said comments shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. Now, is that like Robert's rules or something?
No,
No,
that's
it's
just
just our, okay, then, this question was asked to me, so I'm asking you. At our last meeting, we had a citizen up there for 14 minutes one time at the podium and 17 minutes another time, so what's with the 5-minute rule then?
Generally, I've allowed people the time they want to address the council if we're not pressed. If it's a big meeting, like when we had the road diet, if we let everybody run full length, the meeting we wouldn't get anything done.
So basically,
I-
it's at your discretion, is that what you're saying?
That's what I have been doing.
Well, like I said, I was asked this, and I'm passing it on, and I was kind of wondering myself.
With some of it too, the time is council discussion with the person.
I realize
asking
that's what it
the
was,
questions
yes.
back. But as a general rule, I've been allowing people the time, even if they go over, unless we have a big meeting where there's gonna be lots of people addressing, at which point I hold everybody. My intent is to hold everybody to the time. And that's what we did at the road diet meeting. Okay, we have no public hearing, no appointment and presentations. First thing on communications this evening, AMI metering solution. Joe.
This is an effort we've been working on for quite some time now. During the past several budgets and budget hearings last year and the year before, we've talked about the automated meter reading and the benefits of putting this type of implementation in, not only for our customers, but also for the operations here at City Hall. During the last special meeting, We brought it up again and chatted about it. I told the council I was going to bring it forward for approval. So that's what I did. As you can see on my sheet, there's 3 options available. We have the census electric meters with the census water meters. We have the Elster electric meter with the census water meter as an option, and we have the Elster electric meter with the Badger water meter as an option. And there's some differences in these systems. Usually we take low bid on a total system like this. After evaluating the Elster system against the Badger and the Elster against the census, the type of technology that is used in the Elster system is substantially different from the meter reading technology in the census system. And for the type of terrain that we have in our service territory, I felt that the census system, electric and water, was best suited for our needs because of the length that the radio reads will come into the communication towers, and especially north of town where we have multiple bluffs and homes back in the woods quite a ways to get those signals out. One of the special idiosyncrasies about the census is it has a 2-watt radio in each electric meter, and that is a dedicated service frequency by the FCC. You're licensed, that frequency is licensed to the city of Norway, cannot be used by any other device. The Elster system is what's known as a mesh system, where it goes a broad band of frequency through the 900 megahertz range, and one meter talks to another meter that talks to another meter, and it hops its way in. And because of the distance between meters in some of our remote areas, I felt that that's why we should go with the census electric and the census water. I think it's a better system, even though it's the most expensive. It'd suit our needs the best.
Hey, Joe, under the census, looking at the network equipment pricing,
Yes,
there's tower lease fees per year
yes.
on 2 towers. Which 2 towers were you leasing space from?
It's not what when they say tower, and I was under the same impression, I can find a spot that's on an existing tower. We were talking about the one right above TV Hill that has our communications on already. I would just have to get a fiber connection to that or an internet connection. That's all I need up there. The other one was going to be a pole above the tree line down by the well site. Those are the 2 locations that we're talking about putting in.
So we're not paying an actual then?
No, we're not going to pay a tower lease fee like what you're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a reason why that line item then in that total cost of that 700?
Yeah, that, for the licensing, for the collection, that's what it is a year.
It's the licensing.
The licensing,
Okay.
yeah.
I have a question, Joe. I realize this, the last time you explained it to us, the census electric and water system is better. There's no question about that. But me as an individual ratepayer, how's that going to improve me? What's it going to do for me?
There's several things that it can do for you as an individual ratepayer. We've had lengthy discussions about looking at innovative rate design for our customers instead of just having the normal kilowatt hour fixed charge. After we implement this program and we get a certain amount of data, say 6 months to a year, we can take and look at implementing a time of use rate, because these meters have clocks in, and we can set our time of use. Most common is 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening, and then off-peak would be 8 in the evening till 8 in the morning. And so the electric consumption during those time frames varies. And when you do that, people tend to do things off-peak to save money. They'll do their laundry after the peak hours, multiple things. Some people use it for heating their home. Instead of gas, they use electric because the off-peak hours, they turn it up in the evenings. That's one advantage to having this, is to have these innovative rates. Another advantage to this is there'll be a web portal for all of our customers that you'll be able to go in with your access code that we'll give you. You can look at what you're consuming on any individual day or hour. The girls in the office, if you come in and ask for assistance, they can bring your meter up and they can tell you in the last day how much energy you've used, in the last 5 minutes how much you've used. It'll help on high bill complaints. We won't have to send a person out to read a meter on a high bill. That will all come in right at the fingertips of the girls at the computer.
Joe, it seems like we're using two different systems from two different companies here, I'm assuming?
No, we would be using Census electric meters with Census water meters.
Okay.
That's correct. It's, the options were Census electric with Census water, Elster electric with Census water, which the Elster meter will read the Census meter. And then the other one was Badger water with Elster electric. So I'm recommending the Census system,
Census
water
and
and electric, yes.
Joe, on the census electric meters and the water meters, both those meters, right? Will the electric meter have remote shut-off capabilities on all meters?
We could, if that's the route we choose. The water meters are very close to having remote disconnect, but they don't right now. Within 4 or 5 months, they will have it available, they said. So on our rental units, we were only talking about putting about 300 of those in service. That's about how many rentals we figure we have. And we would put remote disconnects, so move-ins, move-outs, shut-off for non-pay can all be done from the office.
But all the electric have remote shut-off?
No.
They don't?
That's an extra charge.
Is that true? Okay.
Yes.
And are we looking at that, looking at just rentals for electric and water shut-off?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
And I see it where you have here, due to budget concerns, we can move the meter farther out for the water system, push it back a few years, depending on if the money's there or not.
Yes, that is
The
correct.
electric meters have to go in first, right?
Typically, yes, they would go in because the electric meter reads the water meter in the house and then it sends it up and out. So this can be strung out over a period of time. It doesn't have to be done right away. Also, when you do it out over time, in the write-up, I said, you know, we can do I prefer not to do a cost not to exceed the number that I have listed in here, but it could vary a little bit. So when you do it over 2, 3, 4-year period, you know, we might add a few customers and have to buy some more meters, or maybe we'll even have less customers and have less meters. I just don't know. So to say it's going to be an exact penny, we can't do that. You know, just if you approve it for the number I have in here, that's enough to get started right now.
Is there any price guarantee on, like, the water meters, like, right now versus 3 years down the
Yeah,
road?
they said they would give me a 2-year guarantee on hold the prices, for sure. And after that, I guess 2-3% a year, somewhere in that range. They might increase a little bit, which on a $110 water meter, that's really not a whole lot of money on an increase.
Will the wastewater also be responsible for the water meters part?
In the beginning, Ray and I chatted about this a little bit with the project that's happening at the wastewater plant. No, even though they do capture their revenue off of it, the electric and the water, we're going to bear the cost of the installation. And then over time, we would look at the ability for the wastewater to contribute.
Doc, you can, council can make that determination during budget hearings. You know, when we go through the budgets, you can make that determination.
Any other questions? Comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion that census be awarded the AMI metering contract for a price not to exceed $728,368.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Next on the agenda, approval electric bucket truck change order. This was something that we had taken a look at last time. Mr. Ball had a few concerns on some of the items. He felt we could do them in-house and save some money on them. Joe was going to be looking at pricing on them, on getting the materials to do that. In looking at it and in discussing it with utility sales and service, the concern was raised that if we did it, we could do some of them in-house, but if we did, you're looking at the painting and sealing of the materials, it wasn't going to be the same quality as the painting of the rest of the truck. And there was just some other timing issues with personnel. We could do it, but the feeling was it was probably better to just have the contractor do it. So that's why it was brought back as it was last time for the same 4,067 with the items Mr. Ball had concerns with left in.
Well, I see even if we approve this change order for the 4,000 some odd dollars, the total package still comes a little less than $8,200 under budget.
Yes, that is a correct statement.
George? Chris?
I don't like it, but vote yes.
Chris, any comments? Dr. Hayes?
Nope, I think we should approve it last time.
Okay. No other comments? I'm looking for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the new bucket truck change order for $4,067.
I'll support. Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by myself. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
No.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Next, approval, cable TV bucket truck proposals. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that we had in our budget hearing from last year. We've appropriated monies, approved monies in our budget to go out and purchase a new bucket truck and a cable. That particular truck is at end of life for useful service within our department. So we, from a safety standpoint, we definitely need to do something with that vehicle. I'm going to turn this over to Joe. He had an opportunity come up when he was doing a site visit for the electric bucket truck, and he wants you to consider a demo option. That's actually it's less money than bidding out for dual.
Okay, Ray was correct. I went down to Utility Sales and Service for a pre-paint inspection, and there was a truck sitting there that looked brand new, and it was a cable TV truck. And I asked him about it, and we got to talking, and it ends up that was built special for a small cable TV company in southern Wisconsin, and they decided that they didn't want it, and Utility Sales and Service used it as a demo truck, put 1,500 miles on it, driving it around, showing it off, and they were ready to get rid of it. And so I said, well, give me a good deal on it. So we talked, and they gave us a $12,500 discount on it. The actual price when it was built new was $94,500. So it came to a purchase price of $82,000. Then there were a couple things I wanted added on the truck for conveniences that weren't on there, and I got them to throw it in with the price of $82,000. Some interior lighting, some of the things that are similar to what we did on the other truck. Some other bins, a ladder rack, things that you have to have. So they threw that in and said they'd put all that on for the $82,000. And then after I was talking with Jim Briner, the working foreman in that department, the bucket that is on that truck has a hole in it, which is fairly normal for a communications bucket to have a hole in it, and then it has a chain that goes across to keep you in it, and there's a door. Jim had asked me to put an option on there to replace the bucket that's on there with a bucket that does not have a hole. He would feel more secure in a bucket with no hole. He'd rather just go over the top like the linemen do, in and out with the step. And I said that I would put it on as an option, we could talk about it. So I do have it listed here as an option, as you guys can see on the paperwork. It would bring the cost of the truck to $82,780 with that option, if you'd consider it. It's per Jim's request.
I can understand wanting to have a solid bucket, especially if you gotta lean and reach and do that kind of stuff.
How old is the truck that this is being replaced, Joe?
Boy, 80, 88, 89, somewhere in there.
Are you going to keep that truck, Joe, around, or are you going to?
Yes, George, there's some issues mechanically with it, but I don't think it's nothing we can't fix up. It's not totally rusted out. We had a couple thoughts we just threw around about taking the bucket off of it and the bins, because that's the bad part. And we've been sticking a lot of money in the bucket and the bins. The whole undercarriage of the bin area is rusted out, and if you actually look at it, it looks like the truck is broken half. So we thought about taking the bins off, taking the boom off of it, maybe putting a flatbed on it, maybe putting a dump box on it, you know, using it for patching or whatever, not get rid of it. We were going to keep it and do something else with it.
No, I meant the bucket.
Oh, the
part of
boom?
it. The boom
No,
part of it.
that would be off of it, George. It's at its end of life.
That was going to be my next question. What could we do with it? Is it possible with this new truck that in an emergency it could be used to assist and aid the electric department? I see somewhere in here where it's not
Right,
electric
this
too,
this is not a truck that is made to go up on the power lines and work.
but on dead work, I mean,
If you had to cut trees out of the lines, yes, it's perfectly good for that. And this particular truck has four-wheel drive in it, just like the other one had four-wheel drive. They need that to get up the hill by the TV stuff. And also in a remote area, if we had to get in to cut trees in the woods or something, we'd be able to get in there in wet conditions and snow to cut with it, yes. When we've used the other truck in the past for that reason.
and I see here in your write-up, you got, I have put off purchasing because of money issues. Those issues are now resolved, and it is time to continue following the equipment replacement guidelines found in the budget. So does this mean come 2 months from now, you're not going to ask for more rate increases in the CATV department?
No, it's in the budget for this fiscal year to purchase this truck, which is in the current rate structure. Yes. If there is a rate increase in the cable TV department, it is because of our costs of TV stations increasing and passing them along to the customer, not a bucket truck.
Joe, we only got that one bucket, small bucket. truck
Yes,
for TV.
correct, just a small bucket, yeah.
Do you think it's feasible that we should be looking for another one, or are they always capable of doing everything we have to do by ourselves?
Right now, with the way that the department works, they do very little construction, and it's all mostly maintenance and tuning of devices. So, yes, they can handle it the way it's set up right now by itself. If the structure changes to where we're going to look at more construction work out of those guys, then I would say that you might want to be looking at another truck down the road, but that's not in the foreseeable future right now. We would be looking at contracting any construction type work out.
You know, it's always nice to have a backup or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be first rate, first class, but it's always nice to have something sitting around where, if need be, you can use it. And that's my point that I'm trying to.
I can
ask,
evaluate
get
that,
around
George.
If there's any.
Instead of getting rid of it, you're proposing that, getting rid of the old one, proposing that we do something to it to make it more secure to be able to use it as a backup? Is that kind of what you're talking?
Within reason, Joe.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
you know, there's only so much you can do with it, like you said, if everything, if the
Yeah.
frame and everything else is rotted out and underneath, I mean, then you're just wasting money by sinking anything into it, but I mean,
Well, I can tell you what I will do. I'll look at it, and I'll give you my opinion. I'll look at it closer.
yeah,
And what we want to do with it, you know. If there's a different need somewhere else that's more important than that, then we'll talk about it and figure it out.
One of our concerns is the safety of the boom.
no, I realize,
We would have to go through that.
yeah, no, I realize that, it's just, you know, even if it looks bad, I mean, if it works good, then it's safe enough,
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion, to purchase a bucket truck for, $82,780.
Second.
Motion made by George, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Approval of special events application, citywide garage sale. We do this every year. I think the public bathroom requests are in the same locations they've been in. They've always been in. The request is also to have the bathrooms open at Marion Park, at the parks, so we'll make sure we do that. I think this is pretty standard every year. There's nothing new, no surprises.
Well, the only thing is that, I mean, this is the same as we did last year, but we did the temporary change, or temporary revisions to the sign ordinance for the weekend. It's listed out. You know, you start putting up signs on Thursday, May 14th. They need to be down May 17th. Signs cannot be placed on permanent signposts, light posts, utility poles. Signs shall not be allowed on Main Street from 4th Avenue to Railroad Avenue. Includes pocket park, all bump outs at US 2 Main Street intersection. Signs must have an address clearly marked on the sign. And violations of these rules will be removed immediately by the police department and will be subject to littering. That's what we approved last year, you know, for this.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on it? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the application for the annual citywide garage sale be approved for May 16th, 2015, and that the current sign regulations be modified per the following rules.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval, US 2, US 8, road repair. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something that's it's kind of held out on us for a little less than a year, but we had two water leaks late last year. One in the intersection at US 2 and US 8, on US 8, and the other in US 2 right around Saginaw Street. We looked at, and this was last summer, basically fall. You know, we worked with MDOT and we went out to try and get bids for fixing those two patches or two areas. We have to strictly follow the MDOT specifications for basically reconstructing or repairing, you know, those areas. And we received only one bid back, and it was very expensive, more expensive than we thought we should entertain. So in working with MDOT, they agreed to just let us patch it and then come back this spring and rebid that. We received bids recently, and for both repairs, we have a bid of $31,400 from Midwest Asphalt and Gravel, and we'd like council to approve that and move forward so we can move forward and get that work done.
Ray, are you getting much pressure from MDOT to get this done?
You know, no, because they know that we've been working with them, and they know that they're working with us to try and get a quality job. But in a reasonable price. They do expect it done this year. You know, there's no excuse not to get it done this year. I want to tell you too that we do have, I mentioned this before, we do have a request, a claim, so to speak, into the state for reimbursement. This particular quote is well within the claim amount that we have in, you know, for that, for those repairs, so.
Have we made any headway on the claim?
It's
2 weeks ago.
It's one of those where Senator Casperson's office has been working very hard to try and get that through the MEDC or through a legislative appropriations process. And I know that it's one of those you've heard before where, you know, they're slowly working through that process. There's a follow-up meeting that was happening this week with our UP legislators and the director of the MEDC, so that was a good step. He wanted to come back and discuss it. So I don't have a time frame, but what we've done is we've put it into, you know, looking at it by next fiscal year, we'd have that resolved. That would be July 1st, when the next fiscal year starts.
So no, there is no money coming that we know of.
We have an amount and a claim in, so at this point,
But we don't know if it's
I
coming.
put it in the budget, so I'm feeling pretty confident we're gonna get it. I can't tell you timing.
But no, Doc, nothing's been guaranteed.
It hasn't been approved yet.
I see Ray or Joe, that it's put in here to be done by July 1st. Is there any possibility of getting it done faster?
I would ask that question after the approval tonight, because I have not contacted Midwest Asphalt and Gravel yet until the approval, then work out a contract with them.
No.
But, so they have not been, they can complete that July 1 request, because that's what was in the specifications.
Yeah, yeah.
But it could be done, I don't know if it can be, depends on their work.
I mean, if you ask me, it's possible. You got deadlines on it, it has to be done. Asphalt, Midwest Asphalt and Gravel approved to perform US 2 and US 8 repairs for not to exceed $31,400.
Support.
Motion made by George, supported by Lee.
Dr. Hayes?
I guess, yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Next, to go along with that, is the approval US 2, US 8 project QC testing. MDOT requires that we have quality control testing for this, and Coleman Engineering is typically the one that we're going to be using for that. I don't know that we bid this out, but typically these kind of things we've been working with Coleman on. The price, the suggestion, the price that Coleman gave us was $2,700 to do the quality control on both parts.
Going through all the paperwork, it's hard to come up with that figure. But at last page, I can see where it's 2,700. It's quoted in here so many times, I wonder what figure are they really going for? There's no questions I'd like to approve for $2,700, Jeremy.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by George, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Last on the agenda this evening is Resolution 2015-08, dump truck installment purchase agreement. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is something we talked about a while back when we looked at the financing for the new plow truck. We talked about possibly going with a rural development bond issue. We did get an indication from First National Bank in Norway that they were very interested in having this financing for us. But in talking with our bond counsel, under Public Act 99, there's only two types of debt that the city can undertake. One is a bond and the other is an installment purchase. We have used installment purchase agreements in the past. We did this exact thing with First National Bank on the last plow trucks. So we had Miller Canfield run up the paperwork for the installment purchase, and there's an attached resolution for council's consideration this evening.
Ray, and Joe, I'll tell you one thing, we certainly need trucks. But I'll tell you what, gentlemen, we're paying $50,000 worth of interest on this loan. Over 10 years. Do we really need a truck that bad? I understand, yes, but is there possibly some other way going through, Ray, like we get our fire trucks and?
Well, this is on order. I mean, you already approved the purchase. This is just the financing of it. I mean, we went through this when we went through the purchasing a number of months ago. I mean, it's being built. And we told you this is how we were gonna do this.
Certainly can't see paying that kind of interest.
Okay, well, when you approved the purchase of the truck, we clearly said it was gonna be financed, and we gave you the financing costs at the time we did this. We gave that to you the last time, so.
Maybe you did. I was not aware of it, and if you did, it certainly didn't register on my mind that we're paying $50,000 for interest to buy it. I'm sorry if I didn't understand.
Okay.
Did we have to pay Miller Canfield anything to check into this for us, or are they kind of like?
No, they did this for us. They never indicated they were sending a check or bill, and they've done it before for us, so. I think they've,
Well, it's nice that we could go through the First National Bank of Norway.
Right.
And I know they gave us a real good deal on it. I'd like to go down there myself and get a loan at that rate.
They gave us the same rate that we could have gotten for it was a lot.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments?
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2015-8 for the dump truck installment purchase agreement.
Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
No.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Godstein?
yes.
Okay, that's our business this evening. Does anyone wish to address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay, Lee.
One little barb here, Joe. Last year, when this new house was put on Hillcrest Drive, and they had to dig the road up and put the culvert underneath.
Yep.
Culvert, what's left of it is still sitting on the other side of the road. Now, I can imagine how many times,
Is that our culvert?
well, if it isn't,
Okay.
I don't know whose it is, it shouldn't be there almost a year, that's for sure.
No, I just assumed it was there in the weeds. Now you can see it after.
Oh, yes, you can.
Yeah, I saw it there. I just didn't think it was
It's on
ours.
city property, so it's ours as far as I'm
Oh, okay.
concerned.
All right.
So I'd like to have it picked up, please. That's all I have.
Over to anybody.
Yes. Need one?
Dr. Hayes.
There you go, Doc, go pick it up.
I was wondering, are you asking the council to support proposal 1 in any fashion? Or?
We are not afforded the ability to make a political recommendation. So I'm trying to give you the facts within what proposal 1 is. So I will tell you that if proposal 1 passes, there's an increase to our road funds of $255,000 and an increase to our general fund revenue sharing of $27,000.
Is that yearly?
That's annual. And the revenue sharing will go up constitutional. There's a percentage on a constitutional basis. Of course, if sales receipts go up, then there's also a statutory, which could go up even higher. But we were really focusing on the road side of this, and I don't know if you're asking it, how that works, but basically the sales tax is on the fuel right now, which means that when they increase taxes at the pump to fix roads, that increase is also part of that's going to schools, part of that's going to the city, it's going through the sales tax formula. So one of their problems is they wanted to get the sales tax off of the fuel so that any increase in fuel in the future would go strictly to the roads. But in doing so, by taking that off, then there's a hole in the education funding, there's a hole in the revenue sharing funding, and other areas of sales tax. Whatever groups need rely on the sales tax being on the general fund. So that's why they had to deal with it on a sales tax basis. And then it goes to the voters because under the Constitution, anything to do with sales tax has to go to the voters.
I thought I read someplace in there that other communities had resolutions supporting it. That's why I was just asking.
There are communities that have put together resolutions. There's actually something in the handout which talks about the legal side of that. I don't want to be political. I just want to give facts out at this point. So don't make it sound like I'm not in support of it, but I just don't want to publicly do that myself. Council as a group, I gave you information. You could pass a resolution in support of it. Not sure if that is in any way going to positively or negatively affect the voters. But as a group, if you decide you can do that, I did give you something that says that the Michigan Municipal League looked at the legalities of councils doing that, and their attorneys feel that it is proper to do it. That you can do it.
The resolution had come before Iron Mountain a couple of meetings ago, and they declined it. Declined the resolution more. Just the decision was let the voters decide and not have the council be out there taking a side. But it's an issue for the voters to decide on their own.
I think the only UP one that passed the resolution was Wakefield.
Yeah, and really, Dick Bolin is president of Michigan Municipal League, and Dick is the mayor over in Wakefield.
Oh.
So I think he had to come out in support of it because the Michigan Municipal League obviously it supports it. And I'm not saying that that we shouldn't be in favor of it in the sense that it does help our road funding. But I think you want to be, we want to be as upfront and candid with the voters to give them the facts. So
Personally, I think it'd be a boon to the city, but it's not free money. We're going to pay for it.
It'd be fine if everybody else had the pants out of it.
Well, our elected representatives didn't have the you-know-what to make up their own mind and do something about it. That's why they passed it on to the voters.
Anything else, Dr. Hayes?
Yes, I wrote a little statement last night I wanted to read. As a physician, I can say that regular walking will reduce a person's risk of chronic disease and premature death. And in fact, inactivity has replaced smoking as our nation's greatest burden on our nation's healthcare system. As a community, we need to provide safe sidewalks, not only for our children, but for recreation by everyone. We recently had the opening of a state park at Piers Gorge. We now need to complete a walking and non-motorized trail to that facility for our citizens and visitors. We were told by the mine inspector that we need to fence our pits on city land. Why not get a grant for walking trails that would also pay for that fencing? We desperately need a walkway from our town past the businesses on US 2 to the new churches and the museum and ultimately to the spring. We need to send the possible sale of the city land near the spring to the Planning Commission or plan its use ourselves. Hopefully it will create access to the spring on a year-round basis. These are the things that I think should be priority for our council and leadership team in our various committees. It's not extensive, but I just wanted to say those things I think we need to work on. And I'd like to see the Recreation Committee of the Downtown Development Authority particularly work on those things, and the Planning Commission.
All right. Anything else?
No.
George?
Well, I'll agree partially with you, Doc, anyhow, but I certainly think before we spend our money on walking trails out in the middle of the woods, that we should do something with our paths in town. Our sidewalks are absolutely terrible, so I don't see any reason why we should be spending money out
Well, I'm looking
in the
for
bush.
grants.
Where
I'm
we're
looking for-
absolutely gonna maybe support maybe 6 people, where you can do it, spend your money in town where it's gonna basically do everybody good.
And I'm looking for
Outside of
grants.
that, Joe, am I still on your list for them boulevards, by the way?
Yeah.
If possible,
We've had discussions about them. I gotta talk to MDOT about it yet, 'cause
Okay.
it's in there right away.
it would certainly be nice if we could get them done early in the summer, so that we get the grass a chance to grow. It would really, I think it would help a lot. That's all.
Chris? The only thing I have is, Lee, I'd just like to address a little bit more your comment earlier about the time, letting the public time. I've always felt it was better to let the public make their statement, even if it went over the time limit. The exception being when there was a large crowd and we were going to need to control the time more there. So I've never held anybody to the time limit. I felt it was better that the residents got to say their piece, and when the council was discussing with them, allow it to go beyond that. Just wanted to make that clear, that I've never...
Asked and answered.
I know, I just wanted to make it clear, I've never held anybody to the time limit, except on the road diet meeting. Joe?
I have no further comments.
Barry? Trish? Grant?
No.
Ray?
I have no.
With that, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made by Lee, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.